is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, I guess y'all have heard about Shawnee O'Neal Henderson's husband, who is a pastor of a church in Houston, having to tell a woman in the church to hush because she was disrupting the service. So let's talk about this. Well, this is what the AI says. Pastor Keion Henderson recently found himself in the spotlight after an incident during church service. A video circulating online captured the moment when he had to address a female choir member who was loudly crying out during worship. As he sang and spoke in tongues, the woman's disruptive cries persisted. Henderson, with his hands raised in praise, eventually made his way over to her and firmly said, "Shh, hey, stop it, hush, hush," while snapping his fingers. Some people online defended Henderson's actions, suggesting that the woman's behavior was habitual and not necessarily driven by spiritual inspiration. However, others criticized him, questioning whether he should have silenced her in the name of Jesus or instead prayed for her. Regardless of differing opinions, the incident sparked a heated debate about how to handle such situations during worship service. In a subsequent interview on the Tamron Hall show, Pastor Keion Henderson defended his decision, emphasizing that he believed it was justified to quiet the disruptive behavior during a live-streamed church service. As with any public figure, Henderson's actions have drawn both support and criticism. The incident serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by religious leaders in maintaining order during worship while respecting individuals' expressions of faith. So the internet asks, was Pastor Keion wrong? Was he wrong to silence this woman? Now, I saw the interview on the Tamron Hall show, and he said that had been going on for 4 years, and that they had counseled with her personally. Other people have talked to her. The behavior, according to him, and apparently his members, is disruptive. They see her behavior as being disruptive. Now, that's the only group whose opinion matters. The people who belong to the church and the pastor. He is installed as the spiritual leader of that church. He is the pastor of that church. So he gets to have the final say. The members can vote on whether or not they want people hollering out all during the service. If that's what they want, they should vote on that. But apparently that is not what the congregation wants, because as we know it, you start letting people scream and holler and do that during the service. The next thing you know, they'll be twerking and buck dancing and doing the hug-a-buck and everything else in that church. So you have to draw the line with people somewhere. Now that's how I see it. And the reason I feel strongly about this is because during my upbringing, going to church every Sunday, sometimes we would be at the Methodist church and sometimes we'd be at the Baptist church. And during my entire childhood, it was always going to be somebody. These are women. Women do this, who are yelling out and screaming out in the church, and the pastor doesn't know what to do. In the Baptist church that I was growing up in, there was a woman whose husband was a deacon. As long as her husband was alive, she came to church and acted like everybody else, like an ordinary person. But when he died, she started clowning in that church and hollering out in the church. Every time the preacher got up to preach, she would jump up and be strutting all over the church, hollering and socking people and hitting people with the fan, and just wouldn't sit down. And she would do that for the entirety of the sermon. Now that's separate from people who really do shout, because we always had shouting in our churches. And my father personally couldn't stand the shouting because he said that was the devil's decoy to disrupt the service. But women got away with that because they weren't really, they would do the shouting after the preacher. You know, the preacher would be about to wind down, and then somebody would jump up and go to shouting, and then others would join in shouting. This is different. These people, when the pastor is preaching, the minute he gives out his text, in the case of this preacher, he was leading the praise team. He hadn't even started preaching yet, and she was hollering out in the church. And not long ago, in a church that I belong to, there's a lady called herself Speaking in Tongues, and she would start speaking in tongues when the preacher got up to preach. So one Sunday, he told her to be quiet. She was going to try to translate whatever the Lord had told her through tongues. And the pastor told her the Lord is not going to send out a message to you to give the church while I'm up preaching. So he had to put a stop to her. So I think this is a crossroads with black people. And I think this is something that black people should address. Now, Candace Owens says that black people don't know conflict resolution. Well, this is sort of a conflict. All during my teaching career, our principals and administrators would say, whenever a conflict arises with children, whether it's with the teacher and a child, or whether it's children having a conflict with each other, always give them a choice. They need to have two things at least to choose from. So in this case, I think this will be a good time for us to demonstrate how conflict resolution should work. So this woman is coming to this church, disrupting the service based on what the pastor and the members say. I think that she should be given a choice. Either she can settle down in church and worship and let other people worship, because if they came to worship, they didn't come to hear her screaming and hollering. So they can offer to say, we can provide services for you if you need extra attention. We could do this, that, or something else. Or I'm willing to give you a recommendation and you can go to another church where you can do this kind of behavior, where it's acceptable. Because churches have personalities just like everything else. Some churches are conservative, some churches are liberal. Some churches accept one thing, other churches may not. So he needs to help her, and I think he should do it personally, help her to find a church that will be more suitable to her personality. Do it in love, because he, as the pastor, has a right to determine the style of worship that he wants to preside over. Somebody even said, that's how come people don't go to church anymore. Well, if you're going to go to church to disrupt the service, you need to question whether or not you need to go to church. But I do believe that they should give her a choice. And I think they should be, if she wants to stay in that church, I think they should be willing to help her if she's undergoing a crisis. But it's just like my pastor told the lady in our church. The Lord is not going to tell you to disrupt the service when the man of God, who is the preacher, is supposed to be giving the word or leading the praise team, preparing their hearts for the word. God is not going to send you a word through that. That would be the Lord working in opposition to the person that is representative of him. So I don't believe that would happen. I believe it can be done in love. You can stay here and we can give you the services that you need, or we will help you to find a church that's more suitable for you. Now that's what I think, but what say you? Let me know what you think about the video. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.